Meet Joe. He is a gig worker trying to make money using his car. He uses multiple gig apps all at the same time to maximize his earnings. But this can be difficult and dangerous while driving. Sometimes the requests come in so fast, Joe can't pick and choose the best trips to take, which can result in lower pay or lower rated disruptive passengers. That was until Joe found Maximo, the automation app that helps gig workers accept and decline trip requests. Maximo will use the filters set by Joe, like time, distance, and rating, to determine which trips are best suited for Joe. When a trip request comes in, Joe doesn't need to worry. Maximo will compare the trip details to Joe's filters and then determine if it should automatically accept the trip, decline the trip, or allow Joe to decide by showing the per mile and per minute rates. When a trip has been accepted, Maximo will turn off the other apps that aren't on a trip. Once Joe finishes a trip, Maximo will turn everything back on. This will allow Joe to reduce his stress and frustration, drive safe, and focus on the important tasks. Check out Maximo at www.maximoapp.com.
Welcome everybody to the Thursday night gig worker rodeo roundtable. Let me welcome our panel first. Gary? Nope. Hannibal? Nope. Kim? Kim's Side Money Plans. We got John,
Present.
Dash Theory TV, and then we got two fill-ins. We got Ron Entree Courier, and then we have Sergio, who's our guest from Show Me the Money Club and the RSG Rideshare guy.
Hey everybody.
So this is our lineup tonight, you guys, and we're going to try and cover as much as we can out of this stuff. Let's see where we get. Sometimes when Sergio's on, the topics can just roll forever. So we'll try and contain the time, but we'll see what happens.
Time is irrelevant. Come on.
Yeah.
Time is a construct.
That's right. And you proved that. You're the theory guy. So.
Yeah. Let me say hi to the chat real quick. Gary Middleton is in the chat. Hi, Gary.
Hey,
being here.
What
are you doing?
Gary,
Limited availability.
Come on now.
What's up, Todd? What's up, Thomas? How are you? What's up, Rick? Hi, Holly. And what's up, Grandpa? How are you, Brandon? What's up, Jason? From Gig Economy Podcast. And yeah, I think I got everybody. So for now, you guys, and hey, Chris Taylor, and hey, Chris from Real Rideshare Stories. There's the other co-host of Show Me the Money Club.
Oh, my partner in crime is here.
Yes,
John
he just came in. And there's Sean from Tennessee. There's John McCallion. Okay, we're getting a crowd in here. Let's and it's all the usual suspects. So let's I guess let's get into it. I'm gonna let Kim lead off some story tonight. I'll let you pick which one you want to do first.
I'll do the Instacart one first, just because we've been talking about Instacart shoppers like the past couple weeks, taking stuff from people's carts and bringing in their own. So I'm glad Christopher Taylor's here because he actually sent it to me. It was a really short article. It wasn't that big, but it was about this TikToker who went viral because she's actually an Instacart customer who says she keeps getting random items into her bag, and she's claiming that the shopper is doing it on purpose for whatever reason. So I actually went to the TikTok itself and was reading through a lot of the comments, and there were a lot of shoppers like defending the other shoppers, saying we get 2-3 batches and it probably was just a mix-up and it happens a lot. And then, there was the other side of the story where a lot of people are saying that they are still getting stuff that is not on the receipt, but they're getting charged for. So I feel like it's like a constant battle lately on, customers versus shoppers, and shoppers giving a lot of shoppers a bad name because they're doing unethical things. So that was kind of the TikTok. But what I thought was interesting, the one comment said, The shopper went and marked all items unavailable through a text, but bought all the ingredients for a chili and then kept it for themselves. And I'm like, that's really random. But there's more comments like that. So I just think it kind of ties into what we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks.
And I want to throw in, because I found a story today about an Instacart customer. And you got to watch these TikToks and things like that and make sure that they're genuine, because some people are doing them for views, clearly. This one was genuine. And this person was talking about that she understands that they upcharge items 10 to 30%, that she understands she's been using the platform. She gets it. She clearly stated she got it. She understands that she's being overcharged. But she said that she was, that she asked, she begged and tipped cash to the shopper to give her the actual receipt, because as we know, Instacart says do not give the receipt out. Do not show them the store receipt, because they'll see how much they overpaid on the items. So you're, as an Instacart shopper, you are not supposed to give that out. So she tipped her cash, and the shopper actually requested, please don't leave any feedback about that or whatever, because I don't want to get in trouble. But she wanted, one of the items that she ordered was a chicken. So a rotisserie chicken from the grocery store, priced at $11.99. It was $19.97 for just that one item.
Wow.
That's insane.
I mean, that's almost doubling the price, and then all the fees for Instacart and this, that, the other. There was another person too. I was looking up some of these. There was another person who put that they needed, that her and her husband were sick. They needed a couple things from Walgreens. They needed a humidifier, medicine, and something else. And I think it was a few things of Gatorade or something. And she said that it would have been cheaper to take an Uber each way and to go to Walgreens herself and buy it than it would be through Instacart.
That's one I'd want to fact check that one, because Ubers are pretty expensive.
Instacart's pretty much ripping people off.
I mean, they're both ripping people off, but I mean, that's the question. Who rips people off more is the real question there. Is it more Instacart or more Uber nowadays?
Yeah, I would have to fact check this too, but I had a customer, I did a shop and deliver for Uber Eats a couple of times, and they actually know me by name by now, and they're a super sweet couple. But they said that they stopped doing Instacart and went to Uber Eats because Uber Eats is so much cheaper to use as a platform for their grocery shopping than Instacart is.
Yeah,
but I don't know the comparison.
I do know that, like, right now, these platforms that are trying to expand, like specifically Uber Eats and DoorDash into groceries, they're putting a lot of discounts out there right now. So it's cheaper probably at the moment. 6 months down the road, whether that'll be the same story, I doubt it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the one thing, if I can add something, Instacart is the only one out of these gig companies that's sizable enough that hasn't gone public yet, right? Mm-hmm. And we know what has happened to their private valuations over the last couple of years. First, it was 50 bill. Now it's down to 30 bill. And then now it's down to, almost single digits now. Mm-hmm. So they're going to go public this year at some point. So they may be buffering their little, bank accounts before that for the investors or for the institutional investors who are going to invest, obviously, at the IPO, for them to look nice and then float the shares out there, because they got a massive haircut with the valuation. So
let me ask, speaking of that, Sergio, let me ask you, because you have a little experience with that stuff. After what happened with all these other gig apps, you and I have talked about how just, instantly they went to half their value and then lower. Yeah. What happens to an Instacart that was 48 billion now at 10, probably lower, like you said, but calling it 10? If they do go public at this point, isn't the market still going to react to them like, where's your assets? What do you have? Well,
none of them have assets. I mean, look, they all went public at very, very, very high prices anyway. I mean, if you look at, the rideshare companies, they still haven't come anywhere near their IPO prices. In fact, Lyft is probably down 80% from its IPO price, which we'll talk about that later. But Instacart, what will happen is that they will do a roadshow, and then the underwriter will decide what kind of valuation to put on to leave some wiggle room for the institutional investors to make money and get out first. And then the company will start announcing public earnings, and then, the market will take it where it's going to go. But look, I mean, I have a very clear opinion when it comes to all these. Like, I listened to the DoorDash conference call today. The earnings were today. To me, I mean, this has gotten ridiculous now. Over the last decade with Rideshare and DoorDash and Lyft and Uber and now Instacart, at some point somebody has to say it, so might as well be me, because all these last mile delivery companies are in horrible businesses. There is no money to be made in this business, period.
No, and there's nowhere they can go to make it better, really. They're already at a breaking point as far as what they're charging.
Yeah.
And they're at a breaking point as, what they're paying. You can't go really much lower than $225, $250 per delivery for a delivery fee and keep your drivers.
Yeah, stuff. I mean, well, the thing is that, the drivers in the delivery world are working for tips basically anyway.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I'm going to get T-shirts done for myself saying I work for tips. I mean, it's a fact, right? So to me, if this is, if during the pandemic, the DoorDash couldn't make money, actual money, I'm not talking fuzzy money, because they all report fuzzy money called EBITDA earnings, which is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. That's funny money. That's not real money. So, I could look like Brad Pitt if I was valuing myself as EBITDA, okay? I'm never going to look like Brad Pitt. So I have mine is gap earnings. So long story short, if DoorDash couldn't make money during a pandemic where demand was through the roof, and this last quarter that they had was absolutely a banger quarter, they still can't make money. They lost $640 million this quarter. Same thing with Rideshare. I mean, if it hasn't been proven that these companies are in horrible businesses, right? I mean, Rideshare, taxi cabs, they disrupted taxi cabs. So then food delivery, then trucking now. All these businesses historically have been extremely, extremely low margin businesses to start with. So if you disrupt a business that has 3% margins, your best coders and your best algos are not going to be able to squeeze blood out of the rock. And it's proof now. I mean, it's proven.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have to go further than that. So I just wanted to add that. Sorry. But Instacart, I think, will go public, and the Wall Street crowd will figure it out. They will short the crap out of it, and it'll be $3 billion valuation in a year, and they'll make their money. But the insiders will get out. They'll make a couple of billion each, the founders or whoever the VCs are, venture capital firms who invested. And that's it. I mean, that's what it's all about. When you go public, you just float the shares, and now you have public shareholders, and, you have to come clean at some point, and that's what's going to happen. I think none of these companies are ever going to make money. If you can't make money now with what you're paying to the driver and what you're charging the customer, how are you going to make money?
No, I agree. And it's funny you said that you think that, like, in a couple of years they'll be at 3 billion. So that kind of answers my question. If they were to go IPO today, like, are they worth 10? No, they're worth about 3. It would just take a minute to get there.
It takes time. It takes time. It takes time for.
But it's funny how, like, even like you're just kind of putting out a number, but really you've probably thought it through on some level, and that's probably close to their real value.
If that, yeah.
Yeah, if that. Yeah. Funny money. Sergio pulls no punches. Thanks, Thomas. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Thomas. I guess you watch me on Show Me the Money. There you go. He must be the I mean, it's reality, man. Somebody's got to call the reality. Everybody's trying to sugarcoat stuff. Just call it the way it is.
No. Hey, look, that's what we do here. We talk honest. That's maybe why some people don't like it.
They like
other
it,
people do. Because
they
that's
like
what we
it.
do.
Your audience reads it. You know it, Steve. Your audience reads. A lot of people may not know Wall Street, may not know the EBITDA, this and that, but at least when they watch you, they figure it out. This guy's a straight shooter, and it's attracting, actually, as opposed to doing some BS TikTok video and get your 10 minutes of fame. You know what I mean? So it's like whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, Kim, what's the other one? What's the DoorDash?
Okay, so the other one, so you're going to have to bear with me because I feel like it's a pretty long story, but the title is DoorDash driver gets thrown under the bus by a customer who said she never got her food. The DoorDash driver proves she was lying, and she gets arrested. So
this is the first arrest we have, guys, on a DoorDash incident.
I know. I was actually kind of like going, yes, silently as I was reading this. So a DoorDash driver, and this happened a year ago, he went to go deliver a lunch to, I guess, a nurse in a hospital. No notes. I guess it was a handed to me. It didn't say it was, but I'm assuming it was. And it says, please call when you arrive. So he calls, no answer, calls again, no answer, waits and waits, and still no answer. So I'm assuming he did the timer because in the statement he said that he had to leave it in a secure location, and that's usually what happens when you start the timer. So he hands it to the desk that is at the hospital where it was secure. The lady takes it. 5 minutes goes by after he leaves, and his phone starts blowing up with text messages from this customer, basically cursing him out, calling him an effing idiot. Where's my food? He apologizes and says where it's at. 5 minutes later goes by, and he gets an alert saying that the customer reported that she never received her food, and also gave him a 1-star rating. So he didn't like that. This part, I'm like, I don't know about that. But he went back to the hospital. He had support on the phone with him as he's entering the hospital. The support agent told him that if he can prove that it was delivered, then the violation would go away. The 1-star rating would go away. He would be all good. So went to the desk. The desk actually said the lady came down and picked up her food. And they actually had security there, and they can prove with video footage because they had a camera pointed at the desk. So security came, and they actually called the nurse to the, to the station, and asked her to tell support that she received her food, and she refused to do so and refused to pay for the actual order itself. So security actually called the police, and security actually told her, well, we're going to have to call the police if you're not willing to pay for the item. So police get called, and she gets arrested. She fought the whole entire time. And then I guess months later, he didn't hear anything, but he heard from a detective in the meantime. He actually asked the detective if it was even worth pursuing. And she said it was because she was refusing, and a whole bunch of other legal terms. But anyway, long story made short, she pled guilty, and he got restitution for the items that were not paid for. It's
great. It's great that we talk about the good stories. I know that one isn't, but it feels so good.
It's good for the delivery drivers.
His thing is she's a nurse, and the way that he was treated and talked to, and she's caring for patients at the same time, and that was his biggest thing was like the texting and falsifying the claim, but his biggest thing was being disrespected through the text messages he was receiving.
All for $225.
I know, right?
But I mean, I guess that what I take away from that is, I mean, look at the mindset that guy got into. And I, maybe if I was my first day in the gig economy, I would be like, why would he go back? And now I fully get it. I fully get that kind of anger. Like, you know what? Enough. I'm going back and I'm dealing with this.
Like, I had the time today.
Yeah.
I had the time.
You know what? Forget it. I'm like just hitting your snapping point and being like, that's it. I'm going back. It's a hospital. They have to have security footage. He might have even been thinking that. You know what? Yeah. I'm gonna go catch her.
Yeah, he was saying he was 3 years into doing food delivery for DoorDash, and he had 2,000 deliveries under his belt. So, like, he knew what he was doing. He was an experienced driver. I'm pretty sure he said, you know what, enough. And he said it was almost kind of right after like pandemic time. So it was when I felt like the height of a lot of people were getting away with stuff that they shouldn't be getting away with. So yeah. So
too many people in the house.
Customer got arrested.
You know what? If they're gonna push it that far, they should they had enough outs to just deal with it.
I was proud of the driver, though, for not confronting the customer, but going back to the place where he dropped it off to say, hey, can you verify that I dropped this off? Because they're not saying I did. So I never believe in confronting customers, but if you're going back to verify with someone that's not the customer that you dropped it off, I'm like, okay, you know what? I get it. And if it gets you out of trouble, good for him.
What an awkward position for that person, though, too, because that desk person knows the person who was arrested,
right?
Like on a pretty good level, but they knew, like, man, I'm being videotaped. I'm gonna have to narc him out here.
It's like, I'm just gonna tell him to watch the tapes. I'm like,
well, I don't want that nurse to draw my blood. I'll tell you that much. you can take that. Well, come on, man. Yeah, that's a
yeah. I won't even get into it because I want to move into some of the other things while we have Sergio here this week. But there is a story on Rideshare Rodeo. It's on yesterday's post. It's in the news of that says, or maybe it was today's, that says, I don't need your extra tip. DoorDash driver says customer tried to service him when he made the delivery. I'll let you guys go read that. You can already imagine what service him means.
So I'm like, what?
Yeah, I read that article. I was like, interesting.
And he got a tip. So he got a tip, and then that was offered to him. He didn't accept it.
No, I wouldn't.
Is it a family show or what? I don't know.
I mean, so the gist of it was that, if I recall this correctly, he was delivering to a hotel. And then when he goes up to deliver it, it says, I don't know, I think it was a leave at door, hand it to me type of thing, if I recall. And then so, not to leave the door, they tell them just to, wait there. And then when they come to the door in a towel, they try to grab his arm and bring him in, to which he resisted. And then he has a story to tell. But I mean, a situation like that is fishy just in case, and also in different ways. I would a random room at a hotel, who knows what's in there.
Honestly, dude, that's pretty weird for a person in a towel to try and pull you in.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that's a setup to me. I'm like, that sounds like a setup. This is a setup. I don't know what they want from me.
It never happened to me. I don't know why.
You got to deliver it to, like, obviously a place with a lot of hotels, which nobody wants to deliver to hotels in the first place. Exactly.
I always make them come down to the lobby. Hotels freak me out for whatever reason. There's so many.
But see, sometimes they're like they're those exterior hotels. And like the front desk person isn't there. They're like, the room's over there, man. Whatever.
That's Colfax.
I'm done with those.
Yeah, it's Colfax.
It's like an extended stay. Like, okay, it's different.
Yeah. When Ron's mentioning Colfax, Ron and I are both in Denver. Colfax is a very popular street out here. In fact, not far from where I am is the Hourly Hotel, where half of the Denver Broncos were arrested with prostitutes about 7 years ago, which was a big event. Oh, it's crazy stuff. But while we have Sergio here, I threw him 6 topics that I've kind of been talking about, looking into. So I'm going to let him just kind of start us on any of them that you like or that you want to give an opinion on. Because I think that we'll all have talking points on these, but
sure. So your 1 and 2 are kind of
they're the same. It was just two articles.
Yeah. So I read these articles, but I don't want to go through it now. I'll just read your notes, and then I'll just read your notes and just talk a couple of minutes on each. So the first one says Uber and Lyft fares skyrocketed, but drivers didn't see all the benefits. And the second one is Uber and Lyft driver pay isn't keeping up with soaring fares. Well, they're kind of the same genre articles. So let's talk about that. So it's a fact, right? Since 2019, Uber or rideshare in general fares have gone up, depending on where you are in the country, between 39 and 52%. And so basically, if you did a same distance and duration trip in 2019, you paid 10, now you're paying 15, right? That's 50%. So the articles are talking about what percentage of that 50% the drivers are, getting, right? Because Uber is charging more. The problem with that thought process is that this is a two-sided marketplace. All these services are two-sided marketplaces. So it's not rocket science. It's to make money, you have to charge as much as you can. You have to pay as little as you can.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key, right? So through the algorithms, they can easily manipulate all these. It's called a take rate. So if you want to put it mildly, Uber's and Lyft's take rate, when the days of, I call it, subsidized fantasy land, when they had VC money pouring in, just to get a foothold as a new industry, I guess, and kill the cabs, obviously, or any other transportation. And so what they did was they took all the VC money and got all the passengers. So they were looking for growth to grow, to get all the passengers on their platforms. Well, in order to do that, you have to undercut the other industries. But besides that, you have to offer some ridiculously cheap fares. Okay. So cheap fares would be 10 miles for $10. I mean, for God's sakes, right? Everybody knows math. $10 for 10 miles is not reasonable. In a cab, that would be $50. So, but what they did was they went for scale and they went for growth, because that's what Wall Street wants. So they got there. And in 2019, Lyft and Uber went public within months of each other. So once they went public, now the focus kind of changed from growth to profitability. Well, now you got to show me the money. You have to make money, actual money. Well, they still haven't, but in order to make money or increase the take rate, which means whatever the passenger is paying, Uber takes their cut and then pays the rest, to the drivers. And obviously, look, a lot of people comment on our channel saying that, oh, Uber takes 50%, Uber takes 60%, whatever. Okay. I'm not going to talk about Lyft. I'm just going to say Uber. Mm-hmm. So it's not true, right? Because what happens is that when Uber charges $15 for a trip, driver contends, a lot of drivers say that I'm only making 7.5. Well, that's not true. You have to understand that take rate, even if it's at 50%, Uber is a corporation with 23,000 global employees. And I'm pretty sure they're not cheap employees. They're all coders. They're all making at least six figures. They have their expenses as well. So Uber's take rate, though, in general, since 2019 has increased from single digits, which used to be about 9%. As of the last quarter, global take rate stood at 27%. So how did that 9% get up to 27%? Well, exactly what these articles say. So they started charging more and paying less, charging more and paying less, charging more and paying less. And ultimately, last year, they came up with this amazing, amazing algorithm, which completely separated now what the passenger pays from what the driver receives. It's called upfront fares and upfront destination. Well, they sold it as it's totally transparent. Now you know where the passenger going. Here's the price of the trip for you upfront. Before, we used to get paid like miles and minutes, time and distance, like cabs. Well, that went away. They said there's no more rate card. The algorithm is going to figure out these 70 things in a black box and throw, a price to the driver.
Sounds like DoorDash.
Take it or leave it. To take it or leave it kind of a thing, which is bogus. I'm not buying that. But I did some research and I did, a whole bunch of articles on that. I put like hundreds of trips on a spreadsheet, and it's a cut, right? So I've been around since 2015 as a driver on both platforms, rideshare driver. And I've been through 5 rate cuts. Okay. I can tell you I have a lot of scar tissue when it comes to rideshare. So in 2015, when I first started, I'm in LA. So in LA, we used to get paid $1.30 a mile. Okay. And close to 40.
Is this for X?
This is for Uber X, yeah. Because that's the most popular platform. So we'll talk about Uber X.
Okay. Yeah.
So $1.30 a mile and close to 40 cents a minute, right? So each mile I drove, each minute I drove, I know what I'm making. From when I received the request, I knew how much I was going to make. Well, fast forward 7 years to 2022, the last rate cut came and my rates went to 60 cents a mile and 21 cents a minute. Now, consider the IRS deduction is 65.5 cents this year, okay? mileage deduction. So they're paying me 60 cents a mile. So the profitability in this is like really sketchy now. So, right. But unfortunately, a lot of rideshare drivers are mass challenged. They don't understand that they're losing money, basically doing it for charity. So the articles are correct. I mean, there is nothing you can do because, and I'm, I may get some hate mail, but if I was Uber, I would be doing the same thing because I'm trying to make money. And the other thing is their way of making money is by paying you less. You're out there hours and hours, your way of making money is make the most amount of money in the shortest period of time. And Uber's opinion of this is diametrically opposite of yours, right? They're trying to make as much money. You're trying to make as much money, but they control the pricing. So that's when it comes to the wishy-washy independent contractors kind of a situation, because we don't call the shots. So we know what has happened since 2019 with inflation. Everybody's getting hurt. Gas prices, especially in California, went up to 7 and change. A set of tires I buy in 2019 is double now. Maintenance is expensive because it's all on us, on the drivers. Well, on top of that, when you add this wonderful algorithm now that they go, here, take it or leave it. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to take it. I'm going to cherry pick and I'm going to decline garbage, which is sitting on my head. So to me, this is a true article, and it's a shame that we're here, right? And a lot of drivers, I feel like they're doing it for charity. I really do. But Uber and Lyft are taking advantage of this completely. We know with the macroeconomic conditions that exist, everybody and their uncle is out there. On the last earnings call, Uber said they have 5.4 million drivers globally now, and it's up 30%. And we talk about this on Show Me the Money quite a bit. There's massive oversaturation in every market. So the pie is staying the same. The mouths to feed are up 30%. Well, my sliver of that pie is becoming less and less and less. So if I'm out there for an hour, I used to get maybe 3 trips. Now I am down to 2 trips. Well, there goes my earnings that way as well. So to me, there's nothing drivers can do. They can bitch and moan about it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's things they can do. They can strategize. They can work only the best hours, which is contradictory to the flexibility and the freedom thing. Because if I worked between 10 and 2, I'm going to go hungry. I'm going to make $8 an hour. But if I work a weekend bar hours, then I may make $25 an hour. So that also to me is like bogus when they call flexible freedom. There's nothing flexible about it. I could be sitting on my toilet at 2 a.m, turn my app on. I'm not going to get any trips. Okay. Yeah. So forget about this flexibility and freedom. You just got to work when and where there is demand. Long story short, it's true. They're controlling the pricing. They have to charge as much and pay as little, and that's where we are. And, there's not much you can do about it, right? I mean, you don't have to drive, I guess. That's what you can do about it. But unfortunately, macroeconomic conditions are such that people are accepting garbage instead of declining garbage. And, and it's going to continue this way until, inflation changes or some other situation happens, or you guys talk quite a bit. I know I watch your replays, which we don't want government getting involved. Well, we'll see how that goes, because at some point these companies need a brake check.
Yeah.
I can't drive 5 miles for $3. I just can't.
That's why drivers are turning to other gig apps besides Rideshare. Like, they're turning to Spark, they're turning to Curry. Like, you're trying to grasp for any money besides what you were making to make up for the loss of what you're.
But they're also still coming on the Uber platform in masses.
Massive
and I mean,
numbers.
Look at Sergio's market, LA. If it gets up to, let's say, I don't even know a number, but let's say there's X amount and then it doubles and then it doubles. When it gets to that point of oversaturation, they can totally play with the numbers. They can start trying the lowest bid numbers ever.
Well, they do.
And see if people will.
They do, and they do, and they take advantage of it. And if I was Uber, I would be doing the same thing. I mean, I'm not going to say I wouldn't, but
as long as people are accepting crap, they're going to keep offering crap.
Absolutely. And what happens is that the crap is offered to, we're going to test this. We did a small test actually. It was fascinating. We had 2 drivers side by side with their phones on, and both were getting exact same trip at a different pricing. Exact same trip from the same pickup to the same drop off, which is illegal, by the way. So that's antitrust and price fixing. You can't do that, but that's another story. So we're going to do this in a massive way now, right? The test, we're going to, because on the passenger side, the same thing is going to happen. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a bunch of passengers ordering trips, and all 5 are going to get different pricing from the same pickup to the same drop off at the same other day under the same conditions.
Yep.
Why? Because Uber has so much asymmetric information advantage on you that they're going to pull those plugs. Because if they know this driver is an ant, he's going to accept every garbage trip. I'm going to send him all the garbage trips because he doesn't even pay attention to it. He's going to do it anyway, right?
Yep.
To me, they may not send it, or they may send it to me at a higher price because they know Sergio is a cherry picker, or they may not even send me the trip whatsoever. So the algorithms know, the algorithms learn, and it's their job. I mean, they're doing it fantastically. As we know, Uber's earnings were great. So they still can't make money, but they're trying. And look, all these drivers are going to suffer now.
Yeah.
Either way you look at it, the trend has not been driver's friend over the last 7 years when it comes to rates or fares or whatever else you want to talk about it.
No,
So it's
been constant pivoting. And by the way, I want to take a minute out to notice Rideshare Rick's comment here. He saw an article about a blind rider that Uber drivers refused to pick up 3 times in Florida.
Yep.
When he went public, Uber offered him $35 compensation. Sad considering ADA federal laws. I mean, that's ridiculous.
That's horrible.
That is.
That is just, I mean, the fact that if even Uber acknowledges it and then that's how they want to fix it.
But Steve, even that's algorithms. Like we know, we all have our horror stories with their support, right? DoorDash support, Uber support, Lyft support. It's all garbage.
Makes me sick. It just makes me sick, though.
Yeah, but we had look. I'm not here to plug our stuff, but
go ahead.
Had a great feel-good story at the end of our show last night. We have a contributor. His name is Jeff, and he's my favorite ant on the planet. I used to have other favorite ants, but now he's my favorite ant. And he did an amazing paid forward kind of a good deed. And you could all go watch it because it's a long story. He helped basically a legally blind girl to move into her apartment and carried all her stuff upstairs to her place and situated him. He didn't have to do any of it, but he did it because he's an amazing human being. For a story like that, there is also a story on the other side that there are great Uber drivers that go out of their way to help people. So
I heard you tell that story yesterday.
Yeah, it was.
And great. I think everybody in the chat was like, "No, don't do it." Don't do it. But we needed that good citizen. I get it.
I wouldn't have done it. By the time I pulled up and I see all the bags in the cat litter box, I go, "See you." I'm being honest. I wouldn't have done it, but he did. He does it. He did it, and he takes every single trip, 99% acceptance rate. He never cancels anything, and that's his way of doing stuff. And you can't argue with it. I mean, it is what it is, Yeah. So. Yeah, so that's that drivers are not making money. It's true. Well, they are making money depending on your market, just like delivery. Lyft. Oh, what do we start? I sent you the screenshot. That will be like one word. Can you put that up?
Yeah, let me see if I can pull those up. I'm gonna add them in.
Yeah, this is
which one am I? Which one
do you want me pulling up? The big tree.
Okay.
The picture tells 1,000 words, so we're gonna cover that with that.
All right, let me.
You're not prepared.
I can make it the back. I'm gonna see if I can be the background and we see it. Otherwise, I'll add it.
My co-host Chris does all that. You just not set up. Come on.
This is where I wish he had a
game. Let me put it in front of us. I was hoping it would show
in front of us so everybody will see this. So Chris came up with this because from the second week of Show Me the Money, we've been talking about this. So Uber is the big tree that's growing, getting all the sunshine, and Lyft is that little twig down there that's dying because it's under the shade of Uber and is not getting any sunshine whatsoever. There you go.
I mean,
does that explain everything right there?
Yeah.
Well, if you go with a chainsaw and take Uber down, Lyft would grow.
I don't know. I think it's dead. So that's what it is. That's the story with Lyft. What do you say about Lyft? One trick pony. We talked about it on our show. I don't think they're going to be around too much longer if they continue with this. Unfortunately, they decided to get into a pissing race with Uber. Uber has so many levers they can pull. They increased their take rates on the food delivery side and lowered the take rates on the rideshare side. Put the dagger in Lyft's heart one last time, and Lyft doesn't have anything else other than rideshare, and they're losing market share. They're losing drivers to Uber. Uber in 20 top markets lowered their fares, base fares, and Lyft says we have to compete. So Uber would send the trip at 345, Lyft will go 344, Uber will go 343, and they lost. They lost big time. And they made a whole bunch of excuses on the conference call. I'm like, man, you guys are the worst executives on the planet. So I was actually like, if John Zimmer, Logan Green, you guys make like 3, 5, 10 million a year, pay me $1 million. I can run Lyft to the ground as cheap as $1 million a year, man. It's no big deal. It doesn't take much.
So yeah, what about these though, too? Before we move on.
Oh, those are coming. That's a change now. So yeah, this we talked about. This is where Lyft and Uber driving is these days. Not Lyft. Uber started doing this a couple days ago. So I saw this. Not this one. I received this one yesterday. So this is what we look at on rideshare. This is the ping screen. So first of all, you guys see where the little cursor is, the pointer, right? That's where the driver is at, right? Up top, on top of the screenshot.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a squiggly line with an up arrow. Up arrow means that's where the pickup is, okay? And then a down arrow, that's where the drop off is, okay? So, and on the bottom, this is the ping screen. This lasts about 8 to 10 seconds. So you have to make that quick math in your head and make this decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you see up top, it says UberX, what platform the trip is on. You see a little flash sign, that's surge, right? The driver was on a surge area. The star is the passenger rating. This passenger, I don't care if this was like a $25 surge. This passenger doesn't come in my car. I don't pick up anybody for less than 460 rating. I mean, this passenger has been trouble with other drivers, and I don't want trouble in my car. And then lastly, on the bottom, it shows the driver is 3.6 miles from the pickup, which is going to take, according to Uber, 9 minutes to get there. And the distance to drop off is 3.8 miles from pickup, which is another 12 minutes.
Yeah.
So if you look at this goes where rideshare is these days. So it's 21 minutes of work for $5.75.
But what is the negative 525? Or like on this one, even worse. What is this?
Yeah, well, that's a new game that they're playing. They're testing this. So figure this one out. So before upfront pricing showed up, surge was something that veteran drivers like me depended on because it's additional, in addition to the fare, okay? Because we had miles and minutes. And if I had surge on and I knew where it was going to surge, and I would position myself correctly to collect the surge before even the surge showed up, right? So all the studying, all the strategy I used are out of the window with upfront fares now. So this one now, this was sent to me on Twitter.
I don't even get this. I don't get this at all.
You don't get it at all? This is called negative base fare, buddy. That's where we are. We're paying to work for Uber now.
So a $7 surge at a 423. That's like negative $3 base.
There you go. Negative base rates now. That's where we are in the rideshare world. And somebody took that trip.
Do they take it out of your account then if it's a negative?
No, you're just working for $4.23. They have the audacity to show you that there was $7 surge on the trip. They're making you look like a total idiot now. I'm like,
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I look at that and I think, that's, what is it, $12 or whatever? You add the two together is what you think.
No,
how many drivers are thinking that and taking that order?
A lot of drivers. So what happens, Ron, is that in the old days, surge used to be in addition to the base fare, right?
Right.
Now with the upfront pricing and this wonderful algorithm, so when there is high surge, they lower the fare. They lower the base fare. So the algorithm in a millisecond is figuring out, okay, this is a $10 surge. I'm going to lower the base fare to $2 on this. Still going to make it worthwhile to the driver to accept this trip at 12, okay? But in the old days, it would have been maybe the best base fare on that trip would have been 5 plus the 10, I would have gotten paid 15. Now the algo is in the millisecond figuring out, okay, there's $10 surge. I'm going to lower the base fare to like 20 cents a mile on this one as opposed to nothing else, right? So these games are being played constantly, but this is as low as it goes, I'm thinking now. I mean, we're paying Uber to work.
Yeah, I mean, like, what are these? I mean,
these are just regular UberX trips, right?
So like a regular trip, yeah.
I know, but
look
at that pay. It's like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't pay that much to drive a bag of McDonald's that distance. So imagine driving a whole human being that distance.
Look at this trip, right? Look at this trip. So 856 for 31 minutes of driving and 14 miles. That's 50 cents a mile. So food delivery people, don't complain. We're suffering here as rideshare drivers, right? And from the map, you can see, right? It says total of 14.1 miles, right? So that includes me getting to the up arrow, which is the pickup point, which is bulk of the driving that I'm doing, actually. I'm probably going to drive like 9, maybe 10 miles to go pick up. And the trip itself is going to last maybe the rest of it, right?
See, if the down, or if the up arrow is the
Like
pickup.
Yeah, up arrow.
Okay, but that distance, it looks like you're driving almost 3 times that far to get to it.
Yeah, and they don't pay you for that.
So what, you need to drive 90 minutes to get to a 31 minute?
No. The total
Right.
from where I'm at is going to take 31 minutes.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And it's 14 miles.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing, which I'm doing an article now. I finished it actually before I came on. So that upfront fare, when it first showed up, it would tell you how far you were from pickups, because a lot of veterans don't like to drive long distances for a pickup of 2 miles, right?
Sure.
So like if I'm going to drive 5 miles to pick somebody up going to Whole Foods for a mile, I'm only going to get paid, by the way, in rideshare. You only get paid when there's a butt in the back seat. You're not getting paid to go to pick up, right? They count it as active time, but I'm only going to get paid for the which is called period 3. When the passenger is in my car, I slide my slider over to start the trip.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, that's where we are. We're looking at, I mean, I got these, and I
mean, these are some of the worst offers I've ever seen.
These are
I've seen bad ones, so I'm just saying.
No, I didn't pick these. I have 1,000 of these on my computer. They're all the same. They're all the same. Now, once in a while, you will catch a good one. Hence, decline garbage and cherry pick USDA style. Otherwise, you're not going to make money in rideshare. It's become a charity now. Actually, article's coming out tomorrow, but please go read it. Is rideshare charity. The other thing that these companies are doing with upfront fares now is they're not considering your time valuable. So I have 1,000 screenshots that, like, let's say a passenger gets in your car and you get, caught in traffic and the trip lasts 10 minutes longer, right? For the same distance. It happens all the time. Yeah. Uber and Lyft are not adjusting upward for that. In the old days, they would have paid me more for those 10 minutes because there was a time and distance component of the fare. Now there isn't. Now they just go, oh, you just do it for charity. You just take one for do it on the house. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do it on the house. I'm not a charity, bro. So there are a lot of things that are going wrong right now. So,
where's the upside of doing rideshare? I see those offers and go, oh, who is going to do that?
Well, the upside of doing rideshare was 5 years ago, not here, not today. So now you're doing it, just to make some cash, to pay a few bills and use the remaining equity in your car to pay short-term bills, basically. That's what rideshare is at these days. And it's become a total side gig now. I mean, it used to be a lot of people's livelihood. There's no money in being a full-time rideshare driver. So, that's why we always say multi-app. I do also food delivery, and I make a lot more money per mile because I have my spreadsheet done for close to 1,100 delivery trips now. I mean, I'm averaging like $4.20 a mile. I'm like, hey,
Chris,
I'd rather take food, plus nobody's going to puke in my backseat. Why would I do right?
Yeah.
I'm tending to think that your partner here in crime is correct.
Uber's new math: pay drivers, man, let the government give me. Yeah, yes and no. Yes and no.
I mean, I hate to, obviously that's taking it a little far. But
yeah, yes and no. I mean, look, the drivers never pay taxes because they took the mileage deduction anyway. Depending on what kind of car you're driving. If you're driving a newer car, you should take itemized deductions. If you're driving an older car, obviously your cost per mile is 25-30 cents a mile, and you're taking a 60-cent deduction. So you do that. It all depends in different cities, different driving situations. It's not the situation here, but so yeah, rideshare driving at the moment is literally charity now, and hopefully things will change. I mean, what is there to say? It's not a pretty picture, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but it is. Math doesn't lie. I mean, look at those offers.
Well, the crazy thing is I was reading an article the other day where they're talking about they're still short drivers, whether it be for Uber rideshare or Uber food delivery. They're still recruiting more and more drivers. And
They are. I mean, look, these companies, again, like I said previously, their way of doing business is diametrically opposed to yours. You want as few drivers out there as possible, and they want as many drivers there as possible. Because as a passenger, I'm a passenger on all these platforms too. What is it that I want the most? Who's going to pick me up the fastest, and what's the cheapest way to get there from point A to point B? That's it. Right. And that's what they cater to. They don't care about the driver. You know, they say on the conference call, they said, oh, you know, average driver in the US is making $35 an hour active time, including incentives and tips. Does that look like $35 an hour?
No.
Like, that's fuzzy math, bro. So
I went out on the Super Bowl just for deliveries, and it was 20-minute wait between offers. I have never, ever, ever had it like that. They don't care about the driver. They're going to flood the market. And because
somebody showed me the other day, DoorDash is offering like $800 bonus for a sign-on bonus.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I personally have it. I have a $900 bonus for Uber and Lyft to sign new drivers on. Certainly, they don't need new drivers. I guarantee you.
Lyft right now in Denver, Sergio, has $3,800 to do 180 rides in 60 days.
Do it.
Well, I have an account. I'm already a Lyft driver. I can't.
Okay. Oh, for a new driver?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I had one. I put.
That's just
$3,600 for 200 trips. Yeah,
it's worth it to do it and then immediately quit, and use Gary's apps and say you only want half-mile rides.
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, you can do that. I think you know, there is still in rideshare. There is still some money, especially in big cities. Okay, Seattle and state of Washington, they have their own rules, which is amazing. You know, their rates are $1.60 a mile and 65 cents a minute. Okay. That's because the legislature had balls and got involved and put Uber and Lyft at the table, gave them a little slap in the ass, and they said, hey man, this is not going to work. We're going to have to work on this. Look where their rates are. Everybody's swinging cash up in Seattle and Tacoma and all those cities. But other legislatures are not getting involved, although, you know, we know what's happening in Colorado, we know what's happening in other places. So I felt supporting on UberX this week.
This is Sean.
Yeah, you could. I mean, you should have Uber. You know, you should look. Everybody should have both, right? I have both. I have X or Rideshare and Uber Eats. You know, when I go out, I have both on.
Yeah.
I think it's a smart thing to do. The more apps you have, the better it is. You know, I have another slogan for a T-shirt I'm working on. It goes, "My time is for sale to the highest bidder."
Mm-hmm.
It is. It really is, because now if you have 10 apps,
why not just rent me?
Huh? Rent me? Yeah, rent me. I mean, to me, it's like that's where the gig economy is at these days, right? So you have, like, Kim does 9 apps or 10 apps, whatever she's working on. You have them all on, and they're gonna spit you offers. I go, oh, I'll take this one, and I'll take this one, and I'll take this one. So I utilize the best 60 minutes and as efficiently as possible, and make the most amount of money. Because if I'm just sitting on UberX waiting for a trip to show up and I decline a couple, half hour goes by and you still haven't made any money, then you're forced to take garbage. So I'm like, no.
And the apps are going to ebb and flow too. There's going to be some times of the year it's better for rideshare than it is for food, and vice versa. Better for grocery than fast food, and vice versa. Absolutely. Times of day, days of the week. It's like having a bunch of ingredients in the kitchen. I mean,
you got to fill your toolbox with as many tools as you have, man, because you know you're going to use those tools. Even if you use it once a week, you still should have it. Why shouldn't you have the tools?
Yeah, exactly.
Hashtag turn them all on.
Yeah.
Turn everything on.
Turn them all on.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great way to do this now. You know, in the old days, it wasn't like that. It was just UberX was enough, Lyft was enough. But you know, now, no, not anymore. So,
what do we say about Lyft?
What do we say about Lyft? We said it. That picture.
Good luck.
I say Lyft is a tiny
Rest
tree.
in peace.
Good luck. That's
the GGs for Lyft.
I mean, the beating they've taken in the past 10 days is ridiculous.
Yeah, but they deserve it. They deserve it because it's their own doing. Look, you know, Uber did one thing very smart. They put a lot of different pans on different fires, right? I mean, look, Uber is growing. Uber is still growing. I mean,
right. Uber's not going anywhere. We all know this.
Well, we'll see. Because I don't want to get into the numbers. But
I mean,
because it's too complicated.
I feel like they're on a waiting game with Lyft, though, to just own the space. You know,
I'll make a bet with your audience that by early 2024, Lyft will not be a standalone entity anymore. So it'll belong somewhere, or
anybody to take that
bankrupt, one or the other.
I was going to say by Thursday, by next Thursday, maybe.
If there had to be one way that we could look at, other way of getting Lyft some life, it would be to replant that somewhere else.
Yeah. But
Lyft missed every opportunity along the way. They missed food.
But John, again, it goes all the back what I said at the start, right? Mm-hmm. It's a horrible business to be in. Rideshare is a horrible business to be in, and last mile delivery is a horrible business to be in. It's just we have a good friend on the show. He's a business professor at Columbia. He goes, Serge, these are horrible businesses. If you really want to make money, go disrupt some software business with 1,000% margin. Then you can make some money, because there is no money to be made here. I don't care how good your algorithms are. There's just no money to be made.
It's almost like, what if they're kind of stuck? We started this business, but now we realize years later, everybody wants the service, but there's no way we make money doing it. But we still got to run this company because it makes me money. And what are we going to do next? We just got to run this business and figure it out for a decade and 2 decades.
Lyft is dead to me, and the app doesn't work well. Look, it's just one trick.
They're dead to a lot of people, to be honest.
So
what about this Crane's New York article about an Uber Lyft merger? Any thoughts on that one?
It will never happen.
There's nothing to gain for Lyft. I mean, for Uber.
Antitrust, they will never allow that. Look, actually, Uber Travis offered the boys, I call them the boys, Logan and John. By the way, they watch us, so with all due respect, people. So,
good job failing, guys.
Yeah, great job. Can I have a job at Lyft? Just pay me $1 million a year. I'll run it to the ground as well as you, please. It's just not a big deal. Okay? But when Lyft first came around, started competing with Uber, Travis called them into the office. I go, we'll buy you guys out, and both boys said no, because they had different ideas. And look where they are, right? 10 years later, they milked it pretty well, though.
This is almost like a business lesson in diversifying versus
Gig Corner. Lyft does not have $3 billion cash. Free cash they have is about $1.2 billion after this quarter. $3 billion cash is actually, the whole company is worth $4.1 billion as of today. So they don't have $3 billion in cash. They're very low in cash. They're burning cash after 10 years. That should say something about the business. And pretty soon they're going to run out of cash. And you see, the thing that kills them is something called stock-based compensation. The lower their stock goes, the more stock they have to offer. So they're diluting their shareholders and themselves constantly. And I showed a graph on that one. Uber is dealing with that too, by the way. And so what happens is that there's a thing called reset. So the valuations have to get cut, and they have to offer more shares. So they're basically cannibalizing themselves now. They're offering more shares. And when they run out of cash, which they will in maybe 3 more quarters, now they have to offer debt. Well, if you issue debt with high interest rate environment, not a good situation. Nobody's going to give them any money. Or they have to issue more equity, and then that's going to dilute more. So it's like this very spiral that's spiraling down to earth. So that's it. There you go.
So before we move any further, I want to ask Ron, if the rest of the world is like tripling gig economy size, and I think that all the stats kind of match up to that by 2025. If the world is doing that, what are we doing here?
I'm not sure what you mean.
In the US, like where are we going to fall on that map? Like if we're going to triple the gig economy size in the worldwide thing, and we're the free economy, what are we doing right now? What's going on here, and how is there a path to correct?
I think there's the possibility of tripling it worldwide because it's not as, saturated in a lot of other places as it is in the U.S. You're kind of getting close to a point where you've got as many people using it as are going to use it in the U.S., but that's not the case in a lot of other places yet. I think that's maybe what they mean by being able to triple it. And they could triple it there, without any growth here in the U.S. because there's not much.
You don't think that we'll keep, Sergio, too? You don't think we'll keep up with that, though? You don't think we'll reinvent this? Because I don't see the gig economy going anywhere.
No, gig economy is not going anywhere. It's not about going anywhere. It's about Uber has 132 million monthly MAPC, they call it, monthly active paying customers. They even grew that by 11%, which shocked me. But there's only like 168 million adults, that are working in the US and basically use these services. So their scale has, reach. I mean, Uber also is a global company, by the way. So we know, right?
Yeah.
So unlike Lyft. So yeah, you can grow triple, but if you're not making money, you're not making money. I mean, it doesn't matter. What are they going to do? Their algorithms there are going to work differently than here. I mean, you're in the richest country supposedly in the world, and you can't make money by charging up the and then paying as little as possible. What's the system there? Because then you have the consumer there. Like, why did Uber get out of China, India, Russia? They all got their butts kicked and got out because local competitors came around and underpriced them. And then look, it's just the same story everywhere. It's just different dollars, right? Mm-hmm. Consumers can afford the $15 latte in India. I mean, here they can do it maybe, but not.
Well, and oddly, I was reading something about India, how India for gig work is amazing to them because they're being paid. I think it's through a Bitcoin, but they're being paid the same day they work, and they've never seen such a thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, look,
they don't even know that to be a thing that was possible, to have
not all bad, right? It's not all bad. Gig economy is great for a lot of people. It puts a lot of food on a lot of people's tables. Mm-hmm. I'm not negative on it. I'm just negative on the company and the way they do stuff. In general, I think it's a wonderful idea, but I think ultimately, everybody has to make money. Yeah. And if you're not making money, why are you in it? I mean, I don't know. I'm a capitalist. I want to make money. I don't want to work for free. And at Rideshare, you show those prices. I'm working for free, and I'm not going to do it. But unfortunately, the exploitation part comes in. People do get exploited, and we know that. A lot of Rideshare drivers in the U.S. are immigrants, and they don't understand math or maybe profits or whatever, as sophisticated as you all are. And they get exploited and they get taken advantage of in the casino. I mean, it's a casino out there. So to me, is there an more ethical or more transparent way of doing things? Yeah, but then it's tough. It's a tough business to make money in, and the companies are not making money. You can triple, quadruple. You can triple, quadruple, zero. Zero is still zero. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of these companies, they get the idea that after Amazon wasn't making money for so many years and they made money through subscription services, which is not the whole story. Amazon Web Service, AWS, is a whole nother big piece of that. But
that's where the money is at, though. But
but they were able to.
Yeah. Look, John, you know it as well as I do. Amazon sells hundreds of billions of dollars worth of stuff. Okay?
Exactly, yeah.
And they make 1% on the margin on their retail business with the delivery side. But guess where they make the money? They make the money on AWS. They kill it.
Exactly. And but see, that's all these companies now. They don't have an AWS they can pull out of their hat, though. And that's why they're not going to be profitable in the long run.
No,
I mean, they can try to make as many people get on Dash Pass and Uber One as they can, but still,
that's
not going to make the profit.
Exactly. And that was one thing that was the shiny, I don't know, trophy that they had. DoorDash said the same thing today during the earnings call. They said Dash Pass went from 10 million to 15 million, which is 50% increase. And Uber, through Uber One, said the same thing on their conference call. They went from 6 million Uber One members to 12 million. They doubled it. So a lot of people are getting into this,
But here's the thing, and I got both of these now recently. So number one, Uber One, they gave out 4 months free at the beginning of the year. So that's half of their numbers right there. They're just giving it out for free. And those are going to get canceled, sometime in probably April, May. And then the one that we talked about this last week, but then DoorDash now with Roku, anybody who has a Roku, anything, 6 months free Dash Pass.
Well, but you know what? That they broke the numbers down, which luckily they usually don't, but they did this time. Uber said that for the first 14 months, an Uber One subscriber we're losing money on. But after that, if they stick around, they said an Uber One subscriber, DoorDash didn't declare the numbers, but they said they're doing great. Well, whatever. So Uber said if those subscribers stick around after that 14-month period, their ordering cycle is 4x of a regular customer. So once they stick around, it's 4.1x actually. So which is incredible, right? Because once you're in the system, stay in the system, you're creating more and more and more and more business for Uber, because they have rideshare, they have they have
the food delivery, they have the grocery delivery.
They have all these. Now they're getting into, as DoorDash is into supermarket shopping, shop and pay, all these good things, right? So they're trying different verticals. They're trying all this stuff. They're trying, but again, ultimately, it's not there. Okay, so the actual cash is not 1.8. Actual cash is about 1.2 now. They lost 600 million of it on the last quarter, and JP, I know my numbers. Trust me. They're not going to last if they lose 600 million every quarter with their stock-based compensation. You have to read a little deeper into the earnings report. But long story short, that's it. So not a profitable business to be in. But gig economy, hey man,
I love having it, because to be able to go from anywhere. I remember waiting for a taxi. I remember those days when I had to call and you had to be outside and yada yada yada.
And sometimes they didn't even show.
Oh yeah, many of those fun days.
Yeah. So, but one thing I would recommend after I listened to DoorDash conference call today, Kim especially, since you do a lot more deliveries than me, is they said all the verticals that they have created now, like they made a deal with Sephora, they made a deal with Dick's Sporting Goods now. They're doing their shop and pay or whatever you call it on DoorDash on the supermarket side, right? Like Instacart is up 100%. But that's the growth that they're experiencing quarter over quarter. That's insane, right? So when they have that much demand for that service, what do? What do all apps do? They pay really, really good on those orders, right? And then this is the time to hit that part instead of maybe doing more of those than doing food delivery, right?
Right.
Because pretty soon, once that matures, they're going to cut everything back like they did on food delivery.
Well, that's the big thing, the Super Bowl, their Super Bowl commercial was all about grocery delivery. Exactly. They didn't talk about the food. It was about, we got groceries.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can see a difference just even on Sephora. I now, like, when a Sephora order comes in and it's a shop and deliver, I'm like, heck yeah, there are some good paying orders, and I have a really good Sephora. I just go in and say, this is what I need, and they do the whole shopping for me, and they said, scan this, okay, go to checkout. It's literally 5 minutes. And then it's like $18 to $20 payout. So
that's what I gathered. That I'm going to see her. I'll tell her this, because that's exactly what they're saying. If the business is growing, that part of the business quarter over quarter, 100%, that's crazy growth. Uber said the same thing, by the way. They're getting shop and pay and all that stuff. So instead of doing that, now I'm going to go get my Uber, whatever card that is. The Uber,
the red card, the
red card with DoorDash, and Uber has.
You need to get it, because Uber Eats shop and pays are some of the best paying shop and pays
Uber Eats,
around. I had one a week ago that it showed $28 and it was 17 items. It actually was a customer I was just talking about. But at the end, because they still high tips on shop and delivers too, it ended up being $42 because they gave me like a ridiculous tip. So it's definitely worth getting that card if you can do shop and delivers, and it's worth your time and investment doing some of these shop and delivers. It's where a lot of this money is coming from. And not only that, but DoorDash is also incentivizing drivers. I think it started at the end of December, that now that if you complete just 7 shop and delivers per week, you actually get Dash Now. So you get the perk of being a top dasher without doing the top dasher work, just by doing shop and delivers. So it's
there's
definitely
no downside. I mean, there's no downside, and they're going to put their emphasis growth into that market, right?
Right.
And you got to hit it when it's hot. With all these apps, when Uber first came out, it was hot. I was making $60 an hour. Not in my dreams I can make $60 an hour. So right. So if they're all putting their focus on supermarket shopping to kill maybe Instacart or to kill each other or whatever, I don't care who they want to kill, as long as I'm in the middle and then take advantage of it for 6 months and then boom, I go to somewhere else.
Well, I said this on top of that. I've noticed for me using the every now and then I look on the consumer side of the app. Right now, I know at least recently on Uber they had like $20 off of $40+ of groceries. So basically 50% off if you're buying a small batch of groceries.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure DoorDash is offering something similar on theirs. So I mean, they're like you said, that's where they're putting all their money right now. If they're going to take a loss, they're going to take a loss on more of that grocery business.
Yeah, for gig workers now, you got to focus more on that than anything else. And instead of getting pissed off at 225 orders, and do that. Maybe position yourself. Maybe
higher on those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go where the money's at.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, what about? I know that we talk about them when they happen, but they're happening again. What about these these local rideshare drivers that stop accepting orders in towns like Pittsburgh for 48 hours? And when they, one thing that I've always said is it's hard to strike a platform when a lot of people won't, and it really kind of just benefits them. And what difference are you making? But also, even if it was, why are you announcing the time? Why are you announcing a 48-hour strike? If I remember right, real strikes from back in the day that worked, there wasn't a 48 hours. You went on strike till things were better.
That's not a strike. I never call these things strikes, Steve. They're mostly protests, right?
Yeah.
I think the right word is protest. Strike is something that independent contractors can do anyway.
Exactly.
So if you have a union, you strike for a month, but you have your bank account in order, and that's why you're paying your union dues. So when you strike, they get you some living expenses at least. Independent contractors cannot strike. I'm not against it. It gets some play in the media, and then it goes away a day later.
I feel like it helps the companies, though. I feel like they look at it like, let's see what happens, and nothing happens. No blip even on their radar, and they're like, you know what? Whatever.
Okay, DoorDash said on the earnings call today they have 3 million dashers in the U.S. Okay,
yeah,
that's why your competition is 3 million. Uber says 5.4 million drivers globally. It doesn't matter if 100 people strike or protest or whatever. I'm all for it. I'm all for their rights. I'm a driver's advocate first and foremost. But now, I have a theory about this, which I'm going to try to do locally, right? You can do this on a localized basis and hurt the apps bad, okay? So I know my city well, okay? If I'm in Santa Monica, I know there aren't more than 500 drivers in Santa Monica on morning rush hour, okay? And this is very doable. You create that, basically you can create your own search. So if at 7 a.m., when everybody's about to go to work, waking up, do this, do that, whatever, if all 500 drivers in that localized area, maybe 3 mile square area, turn their apps off, that will teach the companies a very, very, very good lesson really quickly, because surge will go through the roof. One thing these companies cannot do, they cannot create drivers out of thin air. They cannot. So if I have 500 members of a group like that, turn their apps off for not for long, for 10 minutes, the surge will go through the roof, because Surge Algo, I know exactly how it works. In order for you to turn your app on, that's why Surge is there, right?
You guys used to do that at LAX.
And then guess who's going to get hurt also? The passengers are, okay? So why?
You guys used to do that at LAX.
We did. Well, I never did it.
I don't know. I mean, I can't say you, but it was done.
No, I mean, it was done, and then but LAX is not public property. It's airport property, federal property. So, what they do is at LAX, they send the LAX police and force everybody out of the pen. But in a public space like Santa Monica or West Hollywood or wherever I'm at, and I know all the drivers in the area, there's 400, 500, 600 of us, and we all turn the app off for 10 minutes, surge will go through the roof. It'll be $30. And then you turn, 100 of them will turn, grab the $30 surge, go. The next 100 will do it, the next, and then we reshuffle and reshuffle. In 3-4 hours, every driver, I guarantee, will make $50 an hour easily. Because then you'll grab attention. Because guess what? Now, ultimately, the passenger is going to get screwed. They're going to pay very high prices. And they're going to go complain to Uber. And Uber cannot deactivate me for something that let me do, which is turn my app off and turn my app on anytime I want. That's the flexibility we have, right? Mm-hmm. So to me, that will be more effective than doing these strikes or protests or whatever. Look, it grabs attention, but I don't think it goes anywhere. in the long run anyway.
No, I mean, and I mean, I think we've like the Instacart ones alone have shown complete failure.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't.
There are too many, man. There are too many. If there were like 100 gig workers,
like you just said, there's 3+ million dashers now.
I know. I mean, how do you get reached?
It has to be very acute. Yeah.
You can't. You know, I mean, you're not part of a union. You can't do it.
I mean, I hate to say it this way, but I view it as you're taking a day off, not even a protest, because you're not. Most of them don't go protest. They just don't. On those days, they don't turn on.
Yeah,
it's just a smart anything. It's annoyance.
If you don't turn on, right, then there's 10 other drivers in the area don't even know what's going on. They turn it on, and then they do it.
Exactly.
So you can't have them all on the same page. You can only do this in a really localized basis. Like you'll have a group leader in Chicago. They do it 7 to 9 a.m. every morning. Then Uber is going to go, holy crap, what's going on here, right? Because then they're going to start getting complaints from passengers saying, hey, man, I just paid $60 for a 2-mile ride. I go, yeah, there's no drivers. Well, you can't. This is not Star Trek that I can beam you down and create drivers out of thin air, okay? So, drivers have the power. They just don't know how to use it. They're just misguided. They're using it completely senselessly. And I'm like, I'm all for it. I support all of them, but then it doesn't work. So I need to see results. And this way, localized basis, you make them bleed a little bit here, you make them bleed a little bit there, every morning rush hour, every afternoon rush hour. Again, the app cannot create drivers out of thin air. And you know what? Once you do this successfully a few times, people will learn, because those drivers are going to make a ton of money in those 2-3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to surge. The surge algorithm is all supply demand based. There's no supply. The rides are all the requests are going to keep coming in, right? So hey, I create my own surge, and Uber, there's not a thing they can do about it. Not a thing they can do about it.
Yeah. So we have one viewer, obviously not here tonight, that lives in New Zealand. This last one of New Zealand Uber drivers begin collective bargaining for the first time. What do you think is? I know it's such a smaller amount of drivers and people and everything across the board, but it should be interesting to see how that. I don't know. How do you see that playing out?
Again, I think.
I mean, do you think it'll make a difference? Do you think it's going to help them?
The collective bargaining part, probably not. But look, there is a model. I urge everybody to go read about it. It's in the state of Washington, and one of our contributors, Zach, is in Bellingham. So I'm trying to convince him to go to Rideshare because his rates are crazy high, right?
Janet from New Zealand just joined us.
There you go. So, I think local legislatures or state legislatures at some point have to get involved. And, Steve, you said you don't talk to Stephanie, right? Vigil, that wrote the bill in Colorado. There's a lot of stuff happening in Minnesota. There's stuff happening in Illinois. It seems like we are at a turning point globally, actually, because we know what's happening in Europe, right? A lot of governments are, mostly left-leaning governments or more union-friendly and more labor rights-friendly governments. And Uber has a lot of restrictions globally. The only way they can pull all that stuff, it's only in the US because there's no controls. And because they don't belong to any, they call themselves technology companies. I mean, they break every law in the country when it comes to labor and transportation. So, but they're allowed to do it because nobody stands up to it. So, New Zealand, it may work if they follow the model that state of Washington followed. And everybody in state of Washington, they all stayed independent contractors. They got 80% of employee rights. They got the highest pay in the country. They got, unjust deactivation protection. They got pretty much everything they wanted because the legislatures sat Uber and Lyft down. And when Uber and Lyft said, oh, we're going to leave, okay, you go ahead because somebody else will come and replace you. So to me, at some point, government intervention is necessary for these companies to just not just run roughshod. I mean, they're all like, elephants in a china closet. They just go, I want to do this, I do it. I'm not a huge supporter of the government when it comes to these kind of things. But at some point, this has to end. Look at those trips I'm showing you, Steve. and everybody who's watching, there's negative equity trips. There's negative base fare trips. And trust me, somebody's taking that. They are. So I can't teach that driver not to take that. I can say decline garbage all I want, know your worth all I want, but my reach is 160,000 people. I mean, there's 5 million of you. How can I do that? So government intervention at some point is going to be necessary.
Well, and I guess when you mention government intervention, my question is, how much is that collective bargaining in New Zealand tied? There was a December court case or a December court decision that ruled that Uber drivers were employees. Yeah. So is it tied to that? And so if that comes out of an employee status, you know, that makes more sense. It sounds more like something.
Well, it makes more sense, but I think what happened in the state of Washington, and it's been in place for 1.5 years now. Everybody won, right? Uber and Lyft did not leave. Passengers are paying a little bit more, and the drivers are making a ton more with about 80% employee rights, sick time off, paid time off, healthcare. I mean, they got literally 80% of the employee rights that exist in this country, and you know, they figured it out. I think I'm not saying that model will work in every state in the U.S., but you know, it will work in a similar fashion. And see, this is I don't want this to happen at all. Like, I don't want the Department of Labor, whenever this decision is coming down in a couple more months, say, okay, everybody's employees now.
Yeah.
Right? Sergio, go put your Uber hat on and go put your Lyft shirt on. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it that way. But if it comes to that, the gig economy is over. I mean, if they're imagine telling DoorDash, you know, those 3 million Dashers you have that you send 225 orders to nonstop, they're all your employees now, buddy. Knock yourself out.
They're not going to be able to afford it.
Well, that becomes my point, though. Like, the rest of the world, the rest of the globe is going to grow in the gig economy, and they don't know the word W-2.
Yeah, but the scale.
I mean, the point is it'll stay how it is in those countries. So what are we just going to literally, is that even a realistic? I don't think it is, but I mean, like, if this happens, like, they can't have these employees.
No, they can't. They can't. Look, they're not making money now with them not being employees.
Yeah.
Not owning the
cars.
A
payroll?
Not having expenses.
No, not
the
a chance.
Payroll, the benefits alone, there's no way any of these companies can afford
but you know, guess what? Guess what's going to happen, though? This is what's going to happen. So if that happens, right, and this has happened in New York, by the way, so TLC get involved. So what did Uber and Lyft do, right? Uber and Lyft puts schedules on everybody, right? Out of the 3 million, DoorDash knows that they don't need all 3 million to do deliveries. They need the 3 million for deliveries to be more efficient and smooth and fast. Because you guys know, doing deliveries, you're not going to get pinged one after the other, like, you know. So to me, yeah, they're going to say, okay, we only need like 800,000 of those 3 million, right? We're going to make them employees. We're going to pay them a minimum wage. We're going to give them some healthcare benefits. We're going to have them wear DoorDash shirts and hats, and they're going to deliver. You know, that's it. They tried that, by the way, you know, in the Dash Marts, right? Everybody were employees. They were on hourly clock, right? So to me, everybody's going to lose when that happens, right? Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry to say that, but that's what's going to happen.
I mean, here's Janet in New Zealand. This is kind of weird. It only applied to 4 people. And she does rideshare on a regular basis. She drives Uber in New Zealand. So.
Yeah, but you know, Janet, at some point, you know, that's how cases happen. You know, it happened in England the same way, right? And then they got some employee rights, and then they brought these companies to the table. I think I don't think it's a bluff. I think if it does happen, the companies have a backup plan. And lastly, on all conference calls today, Uber and Lyft, they were asked the same question. What do you think the federal regulatory stuff that's coming down the pipe, or in California, Prop 22 decision is going to come out in a couple of months? They literally said almost to the point, like, we'll deal with it when we get there. I am sure they have plans. The second that happens, those plans are going to be put in action. And a lot of people are not going to be able to do gig work because who's going to DoorDash pick? Who do you think this is? Kim, do you think they're going to pick you as an employee or a top dasher with 98% acceptance rate?
Oh, definitely a top dasher.
There you go. See, they already have a plan. So that's what they're going to do.
Not only that, do you know how they're going to lose so many drivers by doing that? Like, there's not going to be drivers to meet the demands of the orders that are coming in. Like, that's another way that it's just going to kill the business altogether.
I assure you, if that ruling comes and it sticks, again, but they already said, like on the Uber conference call, they said, if that happens, like in California, if the Prop 22 is deemed unconstitutional by these 3 judges, Dara, from his mouth, he said, we already are going to appeal it to the Supreme Court, right? So, courts work very slowly all over the world.
But it's still costly during that time.
Yes, it's costly, but it is. They have the look. They spent $220 million to pass Prop 22, and they don't care.
Right, and I still find that very weird that all of the lawyers for Uber, Lyft, what they call the Flex Association, and all of the lawyers for the state missed the fact that it goes against the Constitution.
Yeah, well,
it was probably not a miss. It was a calculated. It was a calculation.
I don't think they missed. I think this judge, that started the whole
Judge
process.
Raish.
He started the whole process by saying that in California Constitution, he made it look like Uber and Lyft squeezed a lot more into one proposition. You cannot put one subject in other than in one single proposition in California, according to the laws, supposedly. And they said Uber and Lyft tried to put workers' comp in there, a whole bunch of stuff in there. That's why it's unconstitutional. So,
that's not the reason. That's actually not the reason. It is the reason for one section being struck down.
Right.
But the reasoning that he gave for striking down the whole thing was actually because he said that declaring them as independent contractors takes away from the state's power to control workers' compensation.
Right.
If you dig into his ruling, that's his main. That's the main point, and that's what everything hinges on. The part about squeezing more than one thing into it was enough to strike down a section of it, and basically it means that they could keep if it was just that one piece, what that would do is just strike down that section of Prop 22, and it would knock out the part that says that you can't have collective bargaining.
Yeah, but Ron, they did the same thing in Massachusetts. Uber and Lyft tried to pass in fact, put it on the ballot, a clone of Prop 22. Mm-hmm. And they did the same thing. They kind of commingled, coupled 3 different things in one proposition. And then the judges were like, no, that's not going to work. We're not even going to put this on the ballot. So look, these companies are protecting billions in equity. Okay. Sure. Uber as of today is worth $70 billion. Okay. I would gladly spend a couple $100 million more appealing this or whatever I need to do to protect $70 billion.
Right. And it doesn't matter. They'll just take it out on the drivers anyway.
Yeah, they're going, I mean, somebody's going to pay for it. Right. Yeah. And the customer will pay more, whatever. But I don't want this employee model to work. Obviously, it's not going to work. And these companies will totally disappear if that were to be.
Look, I mean, if we step outside of the gig economy, what caused Prop 22 AB5 ended the careers of so many people. I know. Yes. It was life destroying.
I interviewed Lorena Gonzalez, right? And I think that was the most rushed to judgment bill,
especially
or whatever,
for such a bad idea.
I go like, you're trying to, why don't you call AB5 instead of, independent contractor AB5, whatever that was, as opposed to, I hate these gig companies, and just, write something for just the gig companies. Don't deal with the poor plumber and the trucker and this and that. I mean, because,
or these people who've been in business as self-employed for 30, 40 years.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it was like a huge umbrella that just was, or a net thrown on actual independent contractors, because I don't think gig workers are truly independent contractors. So, to me, it's like
like traditional IC workers.
Yeah. So that was horrible. I mean, they wrote it, passed it in a rush. They didn't even think of the consequences. I mean, I'm like, man, that's bad. Yeah. So, and then Prop 22 ain't no,
you know what?
no bargain either.
This is my tin hat. My feeling is I think they knew about the consequences. They just didn't care. Because it's more than just that. I think when I read some of the rhetoric out there related to this whole, the same with the Department of Labor stuff.
Yeah.
It's not just Uber and Lyft, but there is a fundamental feeling that they do not want people in business for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean,
that's the scary part about this W-2 push, that some people are like, whatever.
Yeah.
To them, I say, hey man, they did it in California behind closed doors. Lorena Gonzalez and Newsom just signed it, and it was law.
And some of it, I think, goes back to that judge's ruling, because it's that power to be able to control, and that, and his ruling, it was the power over workers' compensation. But it's like, if we are employees, the state has more control, and or the unions or whoever, but it's really more about control, and self-employment is a threat to that control. And I'll take my
and I've been reading articles about the amount of business licenses being issued. I mean, they're so up. People are starting their own businesses post-pandemic more than ever. Unions are from like 20.1 to 10% memberships now. I mean,
that's why a lot of the IRS changes and rules is a lot of related to taxing small businesses and smaller transactions that small businesses ran by individuals typically do. That's a big underlying piece of it, because they're missing out on that tax revenue, which is, I'm always a guy that my tin hat is always, it's making somebody more money somewhere. That's my hat.
Yeah.
I just feel like they're just killing the American dream. Like, isn't it everybody's dream to either own your own business or work independently, have your own independent money? Like, this is just a killer of what people are working towards for like the ultimate American dream.
Right. If even if they don't have that dream, at least to have more control over your life.
Yeah.
More independence. Yeah.
But I mean, but if you do play the devil's advocate, though, I mean, as a gig worker, right? If you're really feeling in control, I think you're a fool. Okay, there's nothing. There's nothing you're in control of. Nothing other than turn the app on or off. You have no control on anything.
Right. But again, like when we're talking about, I mentioned this a lot. I come from traditional IC. So
I listened to you the other day. You said, who said that? It was Mike. He said that, right? There are 660 different independent contractor or self-employed categories.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So those are the real ICs and self-employed, business owners. Workers are not. So don't fool yourselves. To me, it's not.
Right. Sergio's referencing the Mike Harubi piece that I did. If you haven't watched it, I would listen to it.
We're going to have him on, hopefully. So we'll see.
Yeah, he's very smart. He's written a lot of legislation. He's been through the ringer. He understands this, and he's just a good guy. So,
reality is reality, man. Right? It's here. Although none of these companies, 3 companies that are going to be affected the most, Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash, they were all asked the questions, and they all said, it does. Uber said it doesn't even apply to us. I'm going like, really?
I mean, it shouldn't shock anybody. Uber has always, look they get kicked out of a country, they leave, they come back, and they don't even ask the government. They just go back, and they just start operating until they work out a deal. I mean, they got the name disruptors, not just because they were disrupting the system, but because they were like going around every single law there is.
I think deals are to be made, and then it shouldn't come down to them being forced in this way, right? That a lot of people's lives are going to be, look, the economy is bad. A lot of people depend on it. Look, even if you're making $15 an hour, it's more than zero, okay? And you didn't have $100 yesterday, you have $100 today. You can close a couple of holes, pay your cell phone bill, or make up rent or whatever. I think the gig economy has a place, but I think these companies have gone too far for having the cake and eating it too. You can't treat me like an employee and call me an independent contractor. Period. That's my opinion. That's where
I agree. John, do you have more on the Super Bowl thing you wanted to add, or?
For the big piece of it is, I think that was the main thing, is that the transition to grocery is something that, like one of my first videos was kind of about this, that this would be kind of their path to profitability. be grocery delivery, Dash Pass, and I forgot there was a third thing. I forgot what that was, but essentially these things have helped them increase profitability somewhat, but it's not made them profitable companies. They still need to have an actual item or a good or something that they can sell that's proprietarily owned, something that actually has value, because all their value currently is basically data. It's basically the ability to be a middleman between transactions. So, I mean, and even now, looking at that comparatively, these own companies, Kroger, for example, they're already starting their own quick deliveries now. So these grocery companies are realizing, hey, let's cut them out. We're paying all these fees. We don't need a middleman. I mean, we can invest into, warehouses, essentially, warehouses in strategic places, and being able to, keep their groceries cooled. Don't have to compete with shoppers and just, okay, we need an order. We can pick this order in 15 minutes and, then just get one of our people to deliver it. Now, the companies themselves, Kroger's, I don't know what they're going to do for drivers. That's the interesting part to me. Because I don't think it's
so. I found an answer to that.
Really? Okay.
So they're using employees, but they don't have enough, so they're supplementing it with the Instacart drivers right now. But that's obviously, what is that? That's to learn exactly how many employees they'll need to do it.
Right.
Because already Kroger has said they're done with Instacart. I mean, here in Colorado, there's ads running every day. Well, they just order from us same day, $7.99. And their big plug is, and you pay in-store prices. Almost like, we're sorry about what has happened. We're sorry that during the pandemic we got screwed with this Instacart company. Just go directly through us now.
Well, they're also going to probably make smarter algorithms, because right now, if they go through Instacart owns that data. But knowing what Steve buys, knowing what Sergio buys, and then sending you coupons in the future, it's gonna spiral into making that customer, keeping them in that ecosystem versus what they're doing with these other third-party companies. So I think that's the other thing that these companies got to look out for is these other companies at grocery stores just deciding to vertically integrate themselves.
Which they should do if they can.
Yeah, they should. They should, definitely. It makes sense. I mean, Walmart's kind of made that model with Spark now, buying DDI and saying, okay, we're gonna do the first, essentially, to vertically integrate a grocery delivery. Now, don't get me wrong, Spark still supplements with Uber Eats and point pickup and whatnot for some of their delivery, but there's a model there that exists that can be, okay, we don't got to reinvent the wheel, really.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised it took them, a lot of these companies, that long to figure it out that, hey, I'll be saving more money by doing it in-house opposed to outsourcing it to Instacart and all these other companies.
So my theory on that is that during the pandemic, I don't know about where you are, Kim, but our grocery stores were just sadly understaffed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and even out of the pandemic, though, they're just now, like, they seem like they were pre-pandemic. They're back to like normal staff. And now I feel like they're like, okay, now we have staff. Now let's pull the rug out from Instacart. Because if a chicken costs $11.99 and I got to pay $19.99 through Instacart plus all the fees, what is this company doing to our brand?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, people, and clearly, guys, there's some serious deception going on, because it's already right in front of you. You're not supposed to give the receipt to the customer. That's a big red flag. I mean, I don't know.
I see these companies, that model evolving towards more of this, kind of like how the Chipotle and the food places, they went from just having one line where everybody comes in and orders to saying, okay, we got your walk-in customer line, but now we have a whole nother section in the side for all the delivery orders. I think the grocery stores are going to do something similar where, okay, walk-in customers, you shop at all this stuff, but our delivery is going to come from either a warehouse or an add-on that just stays fully stocked, has less supply chain issues, and like I said, they own everything except potentially the delivery.
Yep. Well, that's a wrap, you guys. I want to really thank everybody. Obviously, check out John and Kim if you haven't. Everybody's in the show notes. Even our guest tonight will be. Check out Ron if you haven't. You can check out his YouTube, but also check out entrecourier.com, his website. A lot of information on there, guys. Especially, it's readable for everybody. It's all good, readable information. He's been always good about posting that up. And Ron, you got anything else that you want to plug on that?
Nothing comes to mind right now.
I'll follow you on Twitter now. I'll follow you on Twitter next.
He's very active on
Sounds
Twitter.
Good.
Okay, yeah. There you go.
So, and Sergio, I know you got some stuff to plug, so go ahead.
No.
Well, then I'll plug it for you.
No,
you guys
look,
don't
we do a dog and pony show every Tuesday. Yeah. It's doing really well, called Show Me the Money Club, and it's mostly rideshare, but then with Kim's contributions and Zach's contributions and Pedro's contributions, we're we're becoming like a all in one kind of a channel now, from these wonderful contributors doing their work, and then we do the rideshare that we know really well we've been doing. Rideshare is still there, it's not going anywhere, although it's all these bad offers. We do the show every Tuesday live at 3 p.m. Pacific. Honestly, one thing, if I want to plug one thing, I want to plug one thing. It would be our blog, which I think is an amazing place to read. Although I know, unfortunately, people's attention spans are down to 15 seconds of a TikTok video now.
If even.
If that, yeah. Because 4 seconds for the hooks. 4 seconds for the hook.
Yeah, but blog.
They might be down to like 10.
We have like 200,000, newsletter subscribers. Okay, blog used to be huge, right? There would be like hundreds of thousands of people reading this stuff, and now we look at the blog is going like this. Blog is going like this. YouTube is going like this. Like bro,
because people are wrecking their brains on TikTok.
On the blog. People don't like to read, man. Right, Ron? People don't like to read, Ron.
I like reading your blogs.
Oh, well, there was a great article today, that came out. Amazing article. I didn't do it. Jay did it, and it was amazing. It was talking seriously. That's a plug. Please go read that article. It's about the 4 stages of a rideshare driver. There's 4 types. One is the ant, happy ant. Okay. Then there is the disgruntled independent contractor or angry independent contractor. Then there is the one that you feel like you're jailed, you can't get out of where you are. And then there's the next one that uses all the tools and becomes a creator and changes their life, go towards a plan B. So which one are you, right? It's an amazing article. So you guys,
if anybody in the chat can grab that article and post,
please go read that.
Cool. I might be able to do it.
It's an amazing article, right? And you know what? As independent contractor gig workers, we all have been through different stages of those, right? Initially, we didn't know anything. We were ants. We accepted everything. Then we go, no, we got cherry picked. Then we go, oh, I'm angry because they did cut my rates. So we all have been through all those 4 stages. It's just
the stages of grief almost.
Almost.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Almost. So, yeah.
But yeah, you guys obviously try and read more. I know it sounds really stupid, but
especially me, since I don't have as much on other platforms. I need more reading.
Yeah, read, man. It's good. It puts you to sleep.
I know you guys are all going, what? But please, just read something.
Read something.
It's actually, it adds up quickly, honestly. Reading just 20 minutes a day adds up quickly.
Thank you, sir. That's the one.
Yep.
Which type of driver are
you? And while you're there, if you like the article, read more.
Yeah.
And then go over to Ron's site, entrecourier.com.
Keep reading.
So, just read, people.
Please.
Yeah, it's 2023, the year we're bringing reading back.
I know everybody's going, dude, there's no way I'm going to read. And I'm just saying, just try it. Just see what happens.
I promise you won't get it.
Why? You read all those articles that you put up, right? You read all those articles that you put up? Yeah. There you go. Read.
I mean, if I don't read, I won't know what's going on. I won't be able to pass it along to everybody.
There you go. You're not going to learn that, Prop 22 thing on TikTok, my man. There you go. Right. I mean, I'm not against TikTok. Don't get me wrong.
I'm not either. But there are some people
I'm 100% against it.
Well, I mean, if you're I do it. I get on there just to create and I leave. I don't want anything to do with it.
Well,
but I mean, it's more to plug something I'm doing. If it's not doing any good, it's not. But I still do it.
TikTok is that. So the trick with the trick with TikTok is you don't go there for you. You just watch the people you already follow. You got to switch it over when you log on. That's why you find the good stuff.
Yeah, I need an education on that from my son and daughter.
Don't watch random crap on TikTok.
Hey man, my son is 16, and he said, "Why are you on TikTok?" He doesn't do it. He's like, "Why are you on TikTok?"
Have him talk to my son. How about that? My son is like this. I go, "You're gonna get carpal tunnel, bro. Stop doing it."
All right, guys, that's a wrap. I want to thank everybody. Thank you, Sergio. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, John. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And we will be back here next week again for the Rodeo Roundtable. And catch the Show Me the Money Club on Tuesdays on the Rideshare Guy channel.
Please do.
For sure. So thank you, everybody. I was wearing my Michigan State jersey in honor of what happened this week.
Yeah.
Those of you not familiar with that, it was a travesty, and that's my hometown. That's where I was born and raised, so it's really hitting hard with me. And so I have a lot of friends there and everything still, and it's really ripped the town apart. So as far as I know, it's the first Big Ten school shooting, and it's the first college school shooting in quite some time. Usually it's high schools and things like that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, but you really don't hear about 180,000 acre agricultural school that's in the Big Ten having a school shooter. You know, things are just getting weird, guys. So anyway, yeah, just be safe, be good out there to people, try and be friendly, even in bad situations, and earn smart and be smart and make good decisions.
What Kim's thing says, Kim says, kindness is always what?
Free.
There you go. You know what? You just gave me an article idea. There you go. I'm doing it. Kindness is free.
Always free.
And I'll send you the link when I do it.
I would love it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Have a good night. We'll see you next week.